Hello again, everybody, and it's two shows today for you. Lots of touching greatness. We had local trainers, deluxe, the legends before Gary Vitti and Pete Demers, and now I have a different kind of a legend, a Baltimore Orioles Hall of Famer, USC Hall of Famer, Don Buford. Don, it is absolute pleasure to have you on with it, touching greatness.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I have to throw some more Hall of Fames in there. I was a AAA Indianapolis Indians.
Please.
Was a Hall of Famer for them. We won the championship, and I was MVP of the AAA league. And then I'm in my Dorsey High School Hall of Fame.
Wonderful. There you go.
And then I went to City College 1 year, so I made their Hall of Fame.
LACC?
Yes.
What? Yeah, we're both
Baseball.
together there. I'm not on the baseball. Good for. I didn't realize that. Wow, I feel bad that I didn't know that.
So I've been very fortunate.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, I got a little note here. I want to bring up, Don. Linden, Texas. Okay. Now how long were you there before you moved to Los Angeles?
I was probably 4 years of age when we moved to California.
Okay, so you don't have an incredible recollection of
not
much there, right?
No, not much there. I remember my grandparents. They had a farm.
Okay.
And of course they had chickens and pigs and that kind of thing. And I remember going fishing with my granddad. And when in the rainy season, what they would call it mudding, I guess, because when the creeks got real low, you could see the catfish and easy get them. So I think I remember doing that once or twice with my granddad.
Okay, that's great. I love it. Well, are you aware of some other notables from Linden, Texas? I'm not. This is not a quiz. I'm not expecting you to have the answer to that. Let me give you a few. Okay.
Okay.
How about Don Henley of the Eagles is from Linden, Texas.
Okay.
Other musicians: Scott Joplin, T-Bone Walker, the blues guitarist, and Washington Redskins Ring of Honor safety Brig Owens. You're all Linden, Texas guys.
Okay.
Were you even aware of that?
No, not really.
That's my job. That's my job to look that stuff up. So you were only born there 87 years ago, but who's counting, right?
That's right.
Unbelievable. Donald Alvin Buford from Linden, Texas. And how did you end up in Los Angeles at the age of 4? What was the story on the family move?
My granddad wanted to leave the area, and he came out to California first and got a job, and then found a home, and then the rest of the family moved out.
Okay.
And that's basically how we got here.
Okay, so Dorsey High grad alongside my buddy Paul Olden, who's now the voice of Yankee Stadium for the last couple of decades, and Sparky Anderson went there.
Yes.
Billy Preston, who was the fifth Beatle and a fantastic musician. I got to know him a little bit back in the 80s. He's a Dorsey guy. Mike Love of the Beach Boys. I mean, and you go dozens and dozens of really important names at Dorsey High School. But you go from Dorsey to LACC, and how did you end up? Were you being recruited by Rod Dedeaux?
Well, no, just a second. Let me just throw some. Consolo was the first high school player to sign professionally and go straight to the big leagues. Remember when they gave the big contract? So Consolo was the first one from Dorsey High School to be honored in that manner.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now when I left Dorsey High School, I had tried to get a scholarship going to Pepperdine. I sent letters to the northern schools, Washington State, Oregon State, and no real good responses from any of them. I went over to UCLA, talked to the head coach there, and he said, "No, I can't do anything for you." Talked to John Scalinas, Pepperdine was on Vermont Avenue.
I met John Scalinas when I was a kid.
Okay, so he was the head football and baseball coach at Pepperdine.
Okay.
and I was at City, and I said, just I'll come to Pepperdine. I'll play both football and baseball just to take care of my academic uh, qualifications of not having enough money.
Yes.
So I wanted him to do that. So he said
Okay.
no, he didn't have anything at that time. So I decided to paid my own way into USC.
Okay.
And first I had talked to Rod Dedeaux and asked him if I could come out for the baseball team. And he says, "Oh, Tiger, yes, you can come on out." It didn't cost him anything because I was already in school.
That's Rod on the left there, and me and Stu
Yeah.
Nahan on the right. This picture
Stunahan. Oh,
taken at
yes.
Vero Beach a couple
Oh,
of decades ago.
okay.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Yeah, come on out, Tiger." So I did that. And I was playing basically on the JV team.
Yeah.
And once in a while get into a varsity game as a
Okay.
pinch runner or something like that.
Right.
So I said, "Coach, I can't continue going to USC because I can't afford any more paying my own way. I need scholastic help,
Right.
money to continue the education."
Yeah.
So he said, "Okay." I said, "I played football in high school and junior college there, so maybe I can make the football team."
Oh,
So
okay.
he talked to Don Clark, who's the head coach, and Al Davis was the one of the backfield coaches. I know that name, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And so he talked to them. And he says, you need dummies out there for your spring training games. So let Donnie come on out. He can be.
So Don was a dummy that started.
I was a dummy going out for football.
Yeah, the
So he
dummy ended up
convinced-
in the USC Hall of Fame, but that's another story.
So he ended up convincing them to let me come out. So they had a listing of 20 backfield players at that time, and I was number 20 on the
Wow.
depth chart.
Wow.
And so go to spring training. So after 2 weeks, I was running with the first and second team.
Really?
Yeah, I worked hard.
That's great. How much did you play in high school?
I played 2 years in high school,
Okay.
and then I played the 1 year in junior college.
So not much recruiting though from whatever you had to
No
offer.
recruiting from anybody.
Wow.
And then the story
And that's
goes on,
baseball too, right?
right? Either
Wow.
or.
Wow.
And we won the city championship in baseball. And I was against Don Drysdale when he was
Really?
in high school.
He was in Van Nuys.
At Van Nuys.
Yep.
And but anyway,
Did you face him? Do you remember?
I'm sure I faced him, but I don't remember the at bats.
Okay. Because I think that would be something you might remember from that. Even though he was younger, he was still a big kid compared to everybody else, I'm sure.
Right. And he threw hard. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure
and high and tight.
Yeah, I'm sure I faced him. I just don't
Right.
recollect that part.
That's all right.
And so
That's
going back to the football part of
USC.
it at USC, so after I made the team, so that took care of my financial part once I made
Got
the
it.
ball club.
That's great.
But Al Davis was our backfield coach.
Yeah.
So 57, 58 to 9. So the good part about it is I happened to be very fortunate.
Yes.
I was UCLA and Notre Dame. I made their all opponent team.
Oh, right.
And so that's an honor.
Sure, absolutely. And then 1958, you guys went on, the Trojans, to win the national championship of baseball. Yes. What do you remember from that season at all?
I remember we had a great season, and we knew we were going to Omaha, and it was a matter of how we were going to win in Omaha. And at that time, actually, there was housing or staying in motels and hotels were racially difficulty in Omaha.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yes, and so I was the only black on the ball club for Dedeaux.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and my roommate was Bobby Sanich, who was a catcher.
Okay.
And but anyway, they don't talk to the hotel and say, "Hey, look, there's only one. What can one do?
Wow.
What can one black player do?" Stayed
Unbelievable.
in the hotel, so he convinced him. So I stayed in the hotel, and of course, we didn't run around the halls or make trouble anyway. So we're pretty good.
You just want to be able to stay there and have a roof over your head at night, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
And
not.
so,
How much of that did you deal with through your earlier years?
it was very heavy uh,
Really,
in the first part of my minor league career. The
playing in
racial,
the South specifically?
yes. Played in Savannah, Georgia. Uh, well, when I went to my first year I signed, I went to Lincoln, Nebraska,
Right.
and I stayed in the basement apartment of Aunt Jemima, the pancake lady.
Yeah.
You remember that name, Aunt
Sure.
Jemima Pancakes?
Yeah.
I stayed in her basement apartment or basement.
Literally her?
Yes.
How did you know her?
Well, I got the room there. She was really one of the only blacks in the area,
Now, which city was this?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Wow. And she lived in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Well, yeah, but she was doing the Aunt Jemima stuff, but she was out of town 90% of the time.
Oh, so somehow you connected and you got to use
Yeah,
her place.
yes.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
so that's where I stayed, Lincoln, Nebraska. And then the Savannah, Georgia, the owner, Mr. Ackerman, rented a house. There was Deacon Jones, uh, Jim Lynn, and myself
Okay.
were the three blacks on a ball club. And so he rented a house, furnished it. We had what we had as furniture. We had each of us had a bedroom. We had the black and white TV, and
Yeah.
we had a couch in the living room. That's our furniture.
Yeah, you know what? It worked, right? For the what you needed at the time.
That's what we
As
needed at
long
the
as there's
time.
a little bit of food in the refrigerator too, of
Yeah,
course.
and what we'd go fishing once in a while, but that
Oh,
was
okay. Interesting.
actually we went crabbing a few times, so
Really.
that was fun.
I'm
But
curious though, what was give me a story or two where to this day you still can't believe it happened because of the racial crap of the time, which is still not even close to what it should be, of course. But
well, and playing in some of the stadiums and some of the different cities. Oh, here's one situation that I
sure.
really was shocked when I first became aware of it.
Okay.
We're playing a game, and so there were three white gentlemen that had megaphones. One sit behind home plate, one was at first base, and one had a megaphone at third base.
Wow.
And they were at every game. So
This is the minor leagues.
this is the minor leagues. Now I know when I first came up to bat, the gentleman, the gentleman in behind home plate yells out over the megaphone as loud as he possibly could be, said, "Don't you throw that nigga no fastball."
Wow.
And and
So you're in the batter's box at the time.
yeah,
So do you ever
yeah
turn around and like, what the hell's
I was a leadoff hitter, and I stepped back out of the box, and I kind of looked back toward the backstop toward behind home plate, and he yelled out again, "Don't you throw that nigga no fastball."
wow.
So I get in the box. In my mind now, the baseball looked like a softball coming up there,
Really?
and I wasn't gonna miss it.
You're as focused as you ever been in your life.
Focused, and so like
Wow.
first or second pitch, it got a base hit.
Yeah.
So the guy yells out, "I told you, don't throw it."
Wow.
So now the guy at first base with a megaphone says, "Watch
Oh,
out now, that nigga gonna steal."
jeez. What city is this?
This was in I think it was
Lincoln?
Macon,
Macon, Georgia.
well, I don't even want to remember.
No, I understand. But I want people to know these stories.
but that's a true story. So the guy with the megaphone at first base said, "Watch out now, that nigga gonna steal." And of course, I'm gonna steal because I'm running. That's the kind of game I play.
Right.
So boom, I take off, and on the man, he said, "Yanni, go," and then
Wow.
I'm safe. He said, "I told you." So now I'm on second base, and the guy at third base yells out on the microphone. He says, "Watch out now, that nigga gonna score, not score. That nigga gonna score." This is louder than the megaphone here.
Wow.
So I scored a run and some cross home plate. And he, I told you that.
So did you
And
respond to them at all? Like
no,
screw
I
you
didn't.
or
No,
oh,
we just played and didn't pay any attention to him from that standpoint.
wow.
We just concentrated on playing the game. And so this went on every game,
Really?
every night. The same three guys and the same conversation was every time we played there.
Wow.
And we usually go into the city two, maybe three times a year,
Right.
season. Mhm.
Right. So it was like these guys were they had it all planned. They were like choreography
Yeah,
with their
I
stupid
mean,
megaphones.
yeah, and I don't know, they're probably not alive today, but
Let's hope
probably.
not.
I don't wish death on
No,
anybody.
you know what I mean. I I totally get it. But so anything else that stands out in your mind from the early days?
Oh
Even
gosh,
when you
it's
went to the majors, I'm sure there were some cities that back in the 60s, it was brutal. Al Downing's told me more stories than I can imagine.
yeah. We didn't have any trouble in the major leagues.
Really? That's nice.
I mean, because when I went to the major leagues, the guys that played there before, Juan Pizarro and Floyd Robinson,
Okay.
and those guys already had housing and knew about housing, and
Okay.
stayed basically in the uh, minority areas
Right.
for their housing. So we did the same thing.
Okay. I'm thinking it's much though, even spring training, like down in Florida, where it was a little different, or maybe a lot different then.
Yeah. Well, when I went to my first spring training in Florida, we stayed with a lady that she was a nurse and she had a 2-bedroom place. And so my wife and I stayed with her because she was be at the hospital so much. She was happy to have us there. So we had this. We couldn't get apartments, no. So we stayed with a
Wow.
family. So that was tough. I was in Sarasota, Florida,
Okay.
but now I mean it's wonderful. I mean the place is
I would hope.
unbelievable.
I had Carl Erskine on my show a few years ago. He just passed this past several months ago, but I had him on a few years ago, and he told me stories that I had never heard before. And he said he didn't tell many people this. When he went to spring training early on in his career with Jackie Robinson back around 1949, right? And
Mhm.
they started one, I think it was 1 year before Vero Beach. Then they went to Vero Beach. And he
Okay.
said he didn't even know the entire time that we're talking several years. He did not know that when the Dodgers worked out at Vero Beach in spring training, Jackie and a couple of the black guys that were on the team did not stay in the same area that everybody else. They just thought, oh, they just found some place and they were hanging out together. Nobody ever paid it and they didn't talk about it. These guys were not allowed to stay in Vero Beach. They had to go to the neighborhood just
Right.
past it.
Yes, I recall that.
You do recall that.
Yes, I do.
It's unbelievable.
So I mean that was the way it was. What was really good about the White Sox when I went to the spring training part of it,
Yep.
Mr. Allen bought a hotel,
Okay.
and so that's where we stayed. Art Allen, he bought the hotel there in Sarasota,
Right.
and he says my hotel. They can all my teams players stay here,
Oh,
or
okay.
anybody
Nice.
that wants to as a team player
Right.
can stay here.
Good.
So that took care of the housing aspect when I was with the White Sox.
Nice. Yeah, Al told me the same thing about the Yankees ownership. They actually moved out of one area, and that's why they ended up. They used to stay at a place called the Yankee Clipper,
Yes,
and I
it's a
think it was
motel
built for the
hotel, like
team,
right.
right? But before that, he said, Al said, yeah, we had to bounce. And basically, the ownership said, hey, if you're not letting all of our teams stay there, we are out of here.
Right.
And I wonder, you probably had to deal with that a few times too,
We
right?
we dealt with that quite a bit.
Wow.
Uh, we kind of it was tough because it, I don't know if it was organization or managers themselves or whatever. They just didn't take the initiative to want to make the changes.
Right.
Like the manager of the team, he wasn't going to get in fighting people for us to get
Of
housing
course.
and stuff.
I
So
get
I
it.
know we used to go on some road trips,
Yep.
and but we got changed with our manager because what the manager would pass on the main highway. There might be a Negro motel out of town, maybe 5-10 miles out of town. So that's where we'd have to stay, and the
Wow.
team would stay downtown at the hotel.
Yep.
So what we had to do with our manager, we finally said, "Listen, at least the bus would go by the motel, go downtown. The team would unload, and then the bus driver would drive back to to let us out." So we finally got the manager to say, "If we're not gonna stand for that, I mean,
Of
you
course.
you go by the place. There's only 3 blacks on the team. It only takes us 10 minutes to get off the bus. We got to go an hour, hour and a half for you
Oh,
to go down, unload, and then him bring us back." I said, "No,
right. Yeah.
that's not
Well,
going."
that's all up to the character of the manager too, though. They
Yes,
may not want to get involved, but they got to say, like, wait a minute,
yeah,
this is a team, this is a family, this ain't happening.
yeah. But it took us speaking up in order for that to take
No,
place.
I'm sure. I'm sure. All right. Well, let's get on a more positive note. But I want to expose these stories to people because they need to know. Let's not pretend like it never happened
Yeah,
and
it
that
happened.
everything is perfect. It not only happened, it disgustingly happened for decades.
Yeah, we used to on bus trips. The little bus stops. We
Right.
couldn't even go into those little bus stops. In fact, one time, Deacon Jones got off the bus to go into one of these little bus stops, gas station bus stops, like, and one of my fellow teammates came running out and grabbed me on the bus because the guy had pulled a shotgun out and wanted to shoot him for just coming in the store.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some crazy things happen, but thank
I know.
God he was on our side.
And you're still here to talk about it. That's the best
Exactly.
news. That's the best news. So let's wrap up the USC days real quickly
Okay.
here with how good was that baseball team? And you had my favorite player on it. Here he is, Ron Fairley.
Ron Fairley, yes, yes. Actually, I was kind of a backup playing the outfield with Ron Fairley. I was
Oh,
like the
really?
fourth.
Okay.
Well, I
Because
was like
Ron was what, a couple of years older than you, maybe?
Ron. I
Yeah.
think he's younger.
Oh, was he? Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, what happened was Ron signed with the Dodgers,
Yep.
and I used to always, we were all good friends. I used to always tell him, "Ron, thank you for signing with the Dodgers because that opened up for me to be the starter for USC."
Oh, okay, that's great.
So I always tell him that story to Ronnie. I said, "Thank you for signing with the Dodgers."
Oh, that's beautiful. I
So yeah,
absolutely love it.
we had a great team. I mean, off of that team, Pat Gillick became a
Yeah, I
general
read that. I didn't know he was a good ball player. I just knew he was a
yeah
general manager.
pitcher. Yeah, right. And we
Good
had
pitcher?
yes,
Okay.
we had guys that made it to the big leagues. I was John Warehouse.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah, he played for the Dodgers for a little bit.
right.
I
We
think also
had
Washington. I think he went to.
yeah, I think it was Washington.
Yeah, yeah.
Then we had Fred Scott was at short. Then we had Mike Caston on at second, and Ken Guffey at first, and we had Fairley, uh, Len Gabrielson,
Oh,
myself.
Len played with you guys too. I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah. Well, Len Gabrielson. Let's see, we had. Oh, I told you John Warehouse. He played in the
Yeah,
big
right.
leagues
Right.
a little bit. Uh,
Okay.
we had Bruce Gardner, and I don't. It's a sad story about him.
Yeah, I remember the name that there was something, a
Yeah, and
story about him.
he shot himself on the
Yes,
mound at
yes.
the USC.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, and
So, do you stay in touch with any of them that might still be around? I know Gabrielson's still around.
yeah, I see his son. His son played for USC, and I used to see his
Oh,
son.
okay.
Of course, his dad once in a while.
Right.
Um,
I think
they
they live
only
up in the Bay Area, though, right?
right up in the Bay, always in San Francisco.
Right.
Let's see, we had Fred Scott. I talked to him about 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Oh,
and
nice.
he's out in like Palm Springs area.
Good. But they say whatever level and whatever sport, if you win a championship together, you guys are like a group forever, right?
Oh yeah. Now here's the best part about this.
Yeah.
This was that in 1959 we came back. The only player we lost was Fairley. We had a
Okay.
better team all total
Oh,
in 59 than we had in 58. And even though we didn't, we made it to the playoffs. We won the
yep.
games in the playoffs. Rod Dedeaux gets a telegram saying that SC's on probation. The whole school was put on probation because of the football,
Wow.
and that we couldn't go to Omaha.
Wow.
And
Oh,
so
so
Peter,
you didn't play in that World Series, otherwise you would have been favorites.
oh well, yeah, we'd have won it too.
Oh,
In my
oh,
mind,
I never knew that.
yeah. Peter O'Malley offered the winning team to play us at Dodger Stadium, all expenses paid.
Yeah, it's probably Walter O'Malley at that
I
time.
mean Walter
Right.
O'Malley,
Yep.
all expenses paid, and they refused to play us. They wouldn't come out and play us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a
and
great
but
story.
anyway, we still were voted the best college team in baseball for '59, even though we didn't play in the. Well, I think we only lost like maybe 10 games a whole year.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That is really impressive. So, how'd you end up on the White Sox?
Well, Hollis Thurston and Doc Bennett were the scouts, and they used to have scout teams. There was no draft at that time, and they used to scout and have players playing on their scout teams during the weekends. And I used to play Saturday, Sundays with the scout team.
Okay.
And so when I finished at SC, Dodgers offered me a C contract, and the Yankees offered a B contract, and everybody was offering those kind of contracts with $300 a month, $400 a month. And I tell them, no way. I said, I can teach school, hopefully make that kind of money.
Yeah, right.
And so I, in talking to Hollis Thurston, Doc Bennett, I said I would sign a AAA contract without a big bonus.
Yeah. By the way, how much was that AAA contract about?
$1,000 a month.
Now you're talking big bucks, baby.
That was the only way I could do it.
I get it.
And so with that contract, I said, you only have 3 options from AAA.
Yeah.
And as I told them, I said, listen, I'm 5'7", I'm not a big guy. I said, if I'm not in the big leagues in 3 years, you haven't lost any money anyway.
Right.
And so I convinced
They had to
him,
pay for somebody to play, right?
yeah. So
On the roster.
I convinced him
Oh, nice.
to sign a AAA contract, which we did. And thank God for them. They had faith in me because I played football. They figured I have enough strength that I could play a full season in baseball. And
you started out where with them?
I started out with San Diego, which was their AAA team.
Nice to be close to home then, right?
Yeah, we were in Palm Springs for Indio for training.
Okay.
Spring training, and thank God. I had a great spring training. I like hit 400, and Floyd Robinson hit like 405.
Nice.
And but George Mekovich, who was the manager, didn't want me on a team. Coming out of college, he didn't want me on a AAA team.
What, he just didn't think you were ready, you mean?
I don't know what he thought.
What do you think he thought?
he, I think he had some kind of mental lapse in the fact that I was coming out of college and going to AAA, and he didn't think a college player should go to AAA.
Really? Was that sort of like the thinking in those days or something by
Yeah,
some people?
it might have been.
Okay. All right. Just curious because, obviously it's a different world. I'd like to get a feel for what it was like then.
Well, I for whatever reason,
Yeah.
and he never talked to me about it, but anything, because
I wouldn't expect
like
you
it's
to.
for spring training, like I was saying, the most important part was the kind of spring training I had coming out of college, hitting 400,
Right.
and Floyd Robinson hit 405, and so a week and a half or 2 weeks before we were to open up, I sprained my left hand.
Huh.
I couldn't hold a pencil in my hand.
Wow.
That's how weak it was.
Yeah.
My wrist, and so he wouldn't take me out of lineup. So that's why I learned to bunt more and
Oh, okay.
really use my hands.
So you took advantage of a negative is what you did.
Yeah, and my average dropped down to 268, and that's when they send me to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
He
Gotcha.
says we don't want him to fail. I said, you want me to fail? You kept me in the lineup, and
Yeah, right.
we had Suitcase Simpson, Floyd Robinson, and Stan Johnson. There were four of us.
I'm not familiar with Suitcase Simpson, but I love his name.
Yeah, Harry Suitcase Simpson.
What was it? What was he like, famous for traveling or something? What was the
Well,
suitcase?
yeah, he was with quite a few different teams, major league teams.
I don't remember that name.
Yeah,
That was what, early 60s,
might want
right?
to look that. You might want to look that one up.
I will be looking that up.
But so anyway, that was kind of a negative in a sense. But
Okay.
I said it's my first year, so I didn't mind being sent out. So
Right.
and that's how I.
So you got called up the next year then, was it?
Well, they recall each. They offered me
At
out
the end of the season.
Yeah, they recalled me back to AAA contract at the end of the season.
Okay.
They offered me out to a B contract, and then they recalled me to. So you had three options from AAA at that time. Those were the rules.
Got it.
And so the next year, spring training, I don't know what it was, but anyway, the White Sox, one of the scouts told me, he says your name came up, and
Very nice of them.
for AAA.
Yeah.
And they said if you don't want him to make the AAA team, you better send them out before the season starts.
Right.
So I didn't even spend much time with the AAA. They optioned me out, so that's why I went to Savannah, Georgia,
Okay.
and that's where that part of it took.
Well, how long did it take you to get back to the big leagues, though?
I was in the big leagues in 3 years. After 3 years.
Okay. Was there any time at all that you thought, this is just not worth it? Or, I mean,
No.
It's such a grind. You felt you could do it.
Yeah, I just felt that I had the ability to compete
Right.
with any team or anybody.
Okay, good.
As far as the baseball went.
Yeah.
And I've always been a leadoff hitter, so that was my forte, is getting on base, scoring runs.
Yep. I know you led the league in scoring one year. We'll get to that in a bit, but here's your White Sox rookie card. I don't know who the hell Fritz Ackley was, but
right-handed pitcher.
So you remember him?
Oh, sure. Fritz.
Was he on the team?
We were good friends. We all went up at the same time.
Oh, that's nice.
He was called up at the same time.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah,
So,
I just don't. So that would have been what, about 1961, maybe?
60,
63. Okay,
63.
got it.
Yeah, I'm sure 60.
Okay, so you played with the Sox for 5 years. What's your favorite story about playing there?
Al Lopez, I loved Al Lopez. He's the kind of manager he let you play. If you make
Right.
a mistake, he'd call you down. He'd have Mr. Gutters say, bring him down. I'd go down, sit next to him in the end of the dugout. He says, "Do you know the mistake you made?" Yes, sir, I know. He says, "Then you'll never let it happen again." Yes, sir. It never happened again.
Oh, there you go. You
I,
learned the.
understand that message. And
But
but
did you
he
like
just
playing on the South Side though?
yeah, that was fine. It was a
Okay.
big. The old Comiskey Park was a big
Yep.
stadium,
Yep.
and it was 420 or so to center field.
So that was good for Don Buford style, right? You slap that ball around and get on base all over the place. Extra
I
base
don't know.
hits.
I hit a few out.
No, I know you hit a few out, but you were a line drive hitter and some went out. That was basically
Yeah,
right.
no, I was basically trying to get on base, hitting line drives, or if
Right.
every now and then I'd get a home run. That would be okay. Singles,
Right.
doubles, steal bases, score
Yep.
runs. My thoughts were you only win by scoring runs, and I wanted to score a lot of runs.
Right. Well, you did score a lot of runs. I mean,
Right,
that was your specialty, basically, right?
right. hmm
Okay.
when Ed Stanky took over the White Sox, here's a cute story.
Yeah.
He wanted me to walk because that's what we were doing. Steal bases,
Yeah.
2-1, 1-0,
Just get on base and
3-2. Those
steal.
those are those are
Sort of like
kind of
Maury Wills, right? Similar.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he had me taking 2 strikes
What?
every at bat,
That's crazy.
every at bat. And I used to tell him, I said, Ed, taking 2 strikes is tough hitting. Tough.
Yes.
I mean, you're already behind.
He's a former big league player, right? He should know that.
Yeah. And so anyway, he says, "No, I want you to take 2 strikes. I want you on base." Okay.
Wow.
So I ended up hitting 241. But the point being is, with 2 strikes here, I was at the plate. Ed Runge, the umpire, behind the plate,
Yep.
and he likes fast games. He didn't like long gone out games.
So if it's close, he's calling it a strike.
Even so, this I'm in the box, and I honestly, God, I sort of pitch was 4 inches outside.
Oh no.
Strike one. I'm in the box. I step back. I said, "Damn, man, that's not a strike." Get back in the box. Okay.
Yeah, he says,
okay.
I got a dinner appointment. I don't care what you think.
Okay. So pitch inside 3 or 4 inches. Strike two. Damn, man, that's not a strike. He says, "You're not slowing up my game, taking no, you're not gonna take on my time. I'm
Right.
slowing up my game."
Unreal.
So every team in the league knew I had to take 2 strikes. So that made it kind of tough.
Yeah, that's not a good year for the resume.
Yeah. But
Not
then
doing that.
kind of following with that with the Orioles when Earl Weaver took over.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to take a strike to try to walk and get on base as well. And I said to Earl, I said, "Who's hitting behind me?" He said, "Paul Blair." I said, "Who's hitting behind him?" "Frank Robinson." I said, "Who's hitting behind him?" "Boog Powell." I said, "Who's hitting behind him?" He said, "Brooks Robinson." I said, "Who's hitting behind him?" "David Johnson." I said, "You think they're going to walk me to get to all them guys?"
That's a great one. I love it. That is beautiful.
And
oh, that is great. Was
so
that the end of that story?
Yeah. So the very next game, the first pitch, boom, I hit a double. So he says, "Okay, you can keep swinging as long as you're hitting."
No more taking pitches anymore.
No more taking pitches.
I love it. I love it. By the way, let's give kudos where credit is due here. Don Buford was traded by the White Sox for a Hall of Famer, Luis Aparicio.
Yes.
How great is that? That's a lot of respect, Don.
Well, I think I was a throw-in on a trade. So
Well, whatever. Yeah, throw-in on a trade, you end up in the Baltimore Orioles damn team Hall of Fame. A throw-in. Give me a break.
Yeah, it was there was like 5-player trade.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
they
I know, but I just say it was
yeah.
straight up Luis Aparicio for Don Buford. Forget the other guys; they don't mean anything. Okay, so here's the thing that amazes me. Okay, you played 5 seasons with the White Sox, then you play 5 in Baltimore.
Mhm.
Now, how many guys can say they played just 5 years with a team? They played in 3 World Series and they end up on the team's Hall of Fame. It's only 5 years. I mean, come on, that's just spectacular. That's got to be a
Well,
pride factor right there.
very much so. I fortunately had played with the great players on the ball club. We
Right.
had good pitching and everything else. And again, like it goes back to what my belief was: score runs, you win ball game.
Yep.
And I had the good fortune of getting on base probably at a 40% time
Yep.
and
That's a lot.
scored a lot of runs. I think 2 years in a row or 99 runs scored on base. Probably, I don't know. I have to go back and look at numbers to be
Right.
exact.
Right.
But got on base, and that was the key. And
Yep.
I think I helped Paul Blair and Frank and Boog and those guys because number one, pitchers didn't want to throw breaking balls and couldn't throw real bastard type breaking balls because
Yep.
if it's in the dirt, I'm at second,
Right. Right.
stealing bases and stuff.
Right.
So they got more fastballs to hit, and they're fastball hitters.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt. But the depth, you've mentioned it before. I mean, that lineup has got to be a top 10 lineup of all time when
I
you
would think,
guys were at your best.
I think so. Yeah, because Paul Blair could. I mean, he could steal bases. He could hit home
Yep.
runs. I mean, Frank was definitely home run hitter. Man, driving runs. Boog was the same way.
Yep.
Uh, Brooks was the same way. So those guys, it's a tough lineup.
Yeah. I'd hate to be the pitcher facing you guys. No doubt. Let's talk about Frank Robinson and what he meant in your career. And I know he became a very close friend, but I mean, you guys like sort of ended up going different places together, right? After your playing days.
Right. Well, what happened was with Frank was just a quick story here.
Yeah.
When I had led the White Sox hitting, I with a 241 average. So when I went over to Baltimore, Frank makes a statement to me. He says, You'll never lead this club hitting 241." I said, "Okay, I'll do my best." So I end up hitting 280 something. In fact, I had led the club in hitting, but I didn't have the same number of bats. I think Brooks Robinson had like 500 some at bats. I had like 400, and so he got the batting championship title. But I was right there with him. So at the end of the season, I
Wow.
said, "Frank, is that good enough?" He said, "Yeah, that's right."
Did you know him from him also living in LA or not until you played together in
Not
Baltimore?
until we kind of played together.
Okay.
Uh,
Tell
yeah.
everybody how great a ball player he was, though. We're
Oh,
talking about somebody who did something special in both leagues. Before he was with Baltimore, he was a superstar in Cincinnati.
yeah, superstar in Cincinnati, and he also, yeah. I don't know why Cincinnati traded him. That was one of the worst mistakes they ever made.
Yep.
But Frank was he just had that leadership quality as an individual, on player, coach, manager, whatever. He just had that tremendous leadership ability, and he was a no nonsense kind of player.
Right.
So that was very meaningful to players on a team because we had a kangaroo court and he was the judge.
Yeah.
And
That's the first time I ever heard that term, too, by the way, in baseball. I think Frank's the one who brought it into the game, right?
yeah, the kangaroo court.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he used to wear. I mean, we had those. We made him wear the robe, and he had to wear a white mop as as, as a judge.
Right. I love it.
And then the cases or anything brought to before the judge was okay. If
Now, is that in front of the whole team or just in his office or
no,
in
that
his
was the
front of
whole
his
team.
locker?
That was the
Really?
whole team in the
Wow. So
clubhouse.
there
The
some
whole team.
embarrassing moments there, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, I mean anything goes. so if you got picked off a base or something,
Oh,
somebody bring
yeah.
you up.
So in other words, that kept everybody on their toes. Don't screw up no matter what happens, right?
Yeah, and the manager and the coaches were involved too, because and the
Wow.
front office people came in. We might get them for something.
All right. So what's the worst one that you got for?
They used to get me all the time for signing autographs. I'd sign autographs.
They didn't want you to sign autographs?
No, they would think I was messing with people in the stands.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's brutal.
but that's okay. I won a couple and lost a lot.
All right. That's
No one really wins in kangaroo court.
yeah, because it's Frank or nobody, right?
Exactly.
No, I get it. He's the judge and the god at the
Yeah,
same time.
we impeached him one time.
Really? For who?
And we had Brooks be the judge. And every case that night was brought against Frank. He was the only one that was brought.
I love it.
It cost him about $600-700.
So where did that money go to? Like a party at the end of the year or something?
That's what our plans were, but we ended up giving it to charity.
Oh, that's nice.
To a charitable organization.
I wonder how much would have ended up like the total at the end of the year. Any idea?
I don't remember what it was.
It had to be in the thousands.
It was in the thousands.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because
yeah.
Because if you could get a lawyer to represent you in court, if he lost, it cost you double.
Oh wow!
if he won the case, it cost the person that brought the case cost them double.
Got it. Oh, that's great.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Okay, so how did it end up that you and Frank became as close as you did after playing career, where you coached for him? How many teams did you coach together?
Let's see, it was San Francisco, Baltimore, and Washington Nationals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that? I mean, did he just one day call you and said, "Hey, Don, you're not playing anymore. Let's go"?
Well, I was coaching it for Rod Dedeaux at SC.
Oh, okay.
And then that summer, that's the year that Baltimore was having all the troubles, And then he and I talked, and I said, you better get me back there so I can break that losing spell you have.
Right.
So he says, okay. So he says, I got a job for you. You can be the first base coach. I said, okay. But I said, I can't leave Dedeaux because I'm coaching with him.
Right.
And then I have a commitment to do the movie, The Field of Dreams.
Oh.
And so Jay Heeman, who's Raleigh Heeman's son.
Okay.
He and I did The Field of Dreams. And I said,
I didn't realize that. I didn't know you were an Academy Award winner too, on top of all your Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm mentioning that.
You better be. That's great.
So we did The Field of Dreams, and then after that, I joined the Orioles as his coach.
Mm-hmm. So you were with him for like several years, right?
Oh yeah. Let's see. I think it was 2 with San Francisco, Washington Senators 1, and the Orioles 2. And then I went into the front office with the Orioles. I became the farm director. I was assistant farm director, and then became the farm director.
Interesting.
And then I coached Bowie. I was the last team, which was our AA team.
Okay.
Coach at Memorial Stadium.
Okay.
Before they moved to Camden Yards.
Got it. Okay. So one more thing on Frank. Wondering what was going through your mind when he became the first black manager and how he dealt with it with you, as friends. Did you guys ever talk about that much?
No, we didn't talk too much about that. No more than, as I would say to him, I said, don't change, just be yourself
Right.
and do what you think is right, and you're okay.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for you to try to be what you can't be,
Right.
and your knowledge of the game and your knowledge of working with people is excellent.
Yep.
And so I said I can only be supportive
Yeah, sure.
and use the same concepts that the hard work and not making mistakes is the most important aspect of being successful.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's wrap up the Orioles thing here with a nice world championship. And that must have been an unbelievable feeling to be able to raise that baby, huh? The trophy.
Oh yeah. So while we lost to the Mets, and then they turn around and won the championship again.
Yep.
As we said when we lost to the Mets, they says we'll be back next year, and we
And you
did,
were.
and we were, and man, what a great feeling to be world champions in baseball. I mean, that's just notoriety that can never be taken away from you.
Yeah, I see. Brooks Robinson was the MVP. And what
Yes.
I remember of that series, I think he had like 15 great plays at third base
Oh
or
yeah.
something ridiculous, right?
He made plays at third base. I'm in left field, and I
Well, that's
come
right. You're
in,
right behind him.
and I said, Brooks, I said, if you miss one, the guy's gonna get a triple because I'm standing there watching.
You had to pay. You had to pay for your seats, right?
Yeah, I'm just out there in the outfield watching you make these plays. I mean, he made play after play. What a series that he had.
Yeah, and it was like remember they called him the human vacuum
The
cleaner.
human vacuum cleaner. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I hope he was as good a guy as he was a ball player.
oh yes, we had, in fact, personalities on the ball club was just outstanding for everyone. I mean,
Nice,
there was no one that could be out of sync with all of us.
right?
You could go through the lineup with Etchebarren and Hendricks catching,
Yep,
and Boot Powell at first, and Davy Johnson and Mark Belanger, and our other guys. We had Merv Retman, Davy May, Kurt Moulton, and Paul Blair, and myself in the outfield. So I mean,
yeah. It's a hell of a lineup.
yeah. The sad part, I know Davy May and Kurt Moulton they didn't get into too many games,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
no,
But
I get
that's the
it.
way it was.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you're that deep, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
That should be every team's problem, right?
exactly.
Yeah, and you had yourself. I should have looked it up. I'm just thinking of it right now. You must have had a fantastic stats for World Series.
Right. I think
All
I
three of them.
had let's see, I had home runs at
Yeah, well, here's this a picture of you in the Sporting News. You led off with a home run in one
yeah,
game, game one.
yeah,
That's a hell of a way to start a World Series.
yeah. The story on that was Tom Severs,
Oh,
SC2, Rod Dedeaux in SC.
yeah, Mr. USC. That's right.
Yeah, so he and Tom and his wife and my wife and I and Rod
Oh,
Dedeaux, we went
okay.
out to dinner the night before,
Oh, wow.
and so Rod's there, came to see us play.
Right.
And so Rod kind of says, Tom, you'll be winning. And so later innings there, let Donnie hit, give him a base hit. So
Did he put one right down the middle?
no, so this is the second pitch of the game.
Right.
He
Of
tried
game
to,
one.
yeah, he tried to throw a fastball inside, try to jam me or break my bat. That's what I always say. He tried to
Oh, and
break
you
my
turned
bat.
on it, right?
And I got out in front and it cleared the fence about 2 feet.
Oh, that's great.
So
Did you guys lock eyeballs at all when you're running around the
no,
bases?
I didn't know.
I know it's a different world then,
I
but
didn't even pay attention to him. I was so happy.
like, hey, Tom, thanks. See ya.
Yeah.
Have a
So
nice day.
so the next night we did go out to dinner, and Tom Severs said to Rod, "Don't you ever say that to me again." And I said, "Tom, you know damn well you weren't trying to let me in a home run."
Yeah, exactly. Good try. That is classic. So what do you remember about the celebration of the winning it all in 70?
And the celebration was just unbelievable. We had, I think we dumped Harry Dalton into the whirlpool, and the general manager.
Yeah.
And it was just such a celebration that I don't know. I don't think any of us will ever forget it.
Was
It
there a
was
parade in the city in those days?
no,
No parades, huh?
no. We
So
we
there were
didn't.
so it was like when the last game was over, you guys might have hung out for a night and then you're out of there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, except some guys stay in that area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no. Like Frank and Paul, they had homes in that area, but
Oh, okay.
I stayed for a few days and then I came back to California.
Right. Right. But there it is, forever. You guys are linked. That's just got to be an incredible feeling.
Right, it certainly is, and something, of course, we never forget.
Well, look at you guys here.
I'm just proud of the guys that I played with. I mean,
Sure, of
we
course.
were all family. I mean, Boog Powell and I used to go fishing and maybe hunting a couple times here and there,
Nice.
and we just hung out with each other, and when we go on road trips, we'd have poker parties and not go out, but we just have poker parties, order hamburgers and play poker, and guys would come, be about six of us playing poker, and then
Right.
we'd order enough hamburgers for 20 because
Okay.
guys used to come in and grab a hamburger and leave. So we didn't care.
Yeah, Boogs seems like he would be a really fun guy to hang out with.
Oh, great guy.
And I
And
know
he is.
he always had that barbecue restaurant for years at Camden Yards. I don't know if it's still
Yeah,
there.
still
It is.
going. Yes,
Okay.
he's still there, still operating.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's a one big dude, isn't he?
Well, he was very agile for a
Really?
big man. He was really agile.
Okay.
I think for me, one of the most agile big guys that I've ever known.
Wow, that's great.
Playing around first base, I mean, balls in the dirt. He was so loose that nothing got by.
Oh, that's great. All right, so I got to bring up the game, the MLK Martin Luther King charity game, 1970, Dodger Stadium. It was East versus West, and there's the program. That's my program.
Okay.
All right, and that was on March. The last week of March was right
March.
before the season started, and every team got two guys picked from the team to come out to LA and play before the season started. It was 2 years after Martin Luther King's assassination, so the money all went to the King Association Foundation in Georgia, right?
Right.
And this was supposed to be an annual thing, but it didn't happen. It was only one time. I wrote a whole chapter about this in my book, Touching Greatness. Now, you mentioned how you were in trouble for signing too many damn autographs, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the first time I met you, and there you are holding my book. Thank you very much. That's when we met up a couple of months ago down in the middle of LA with Al Downing.
Al Downing, yes.
Yeah. And there's us hanging out talking. I took a picture of us that day with your wife, Alicia. So that was fun. A little hamburger shop.
Right.
And there's us three, right? And I love the fact that Al sees you in the corner and he goes, "Hey, there's that Orioles guy, and you're wearing an Orioles thing. You're unbelievable." So that picture, that's a great shot. I love this.
Yeah.
Anyways,
he was probably mad at me because I got a base hit off of him.
I think we did talk about that. Somehow he doesn't remember. I think that's a coincidence, right? Whatever, right? So anyway, so 1970 is the game, and after the game is over. By the way, let me put up the lineups here. Can you see this? It's in fairly small print.
Okay.
But Maury, this is the West. Wills. I better get my glasses on for this one. Maury Wills, Pete Rose, Hank Aaron, Reggie Jackson, Lou Brock. No, it's not. That's not Lou Brock. Johnny Bench, Orlando Cepeda. It was just great player after great player after great player.
Joe Morgan.
Yep. So anyway, and then you go to the other side, and there's some guy named Don Buford who's hitting whatever. Let's see, you're hitting about eighth or so
Oh
in the
yeah.
lineup.
Oh, way down in the lineup.
Yep. Yeah, so Ron Fairley was your leadoff batter that day.
Right.
Reggie Smith, Frank Robinson, Willie Stargell, Ron Santo. Just loaded with
Just
guys.
loaded.
Right?
Yeah.
So your manager, I believe, if you were in the East, would have been, it was either Joe DiMaggio or Roy Campanella.
I think
to
we
look
had
that up.
Campanella.
Yeah, I think Campanella was your manager. And Joe DiMaggio was the East manager.
Yeah.
Right. So I snuck into the stadium after the game. This is the way I talked. I'm 16 years old, right? I snuck back in. I went out to the parking lot to get autographs after the game. And if anybody got autographs, this was better than almost every All-Star game you can imagine.
Oh yeah, with all the stars.
Right. So here I am getting my autographs. And this is Ron Santo, Bench, Ollie Brown, Pete Rose, Mike Andrews, Billy Martin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's Bobby Mercer, right?
Bobby Mercer, yeah.
Right. Look at Joe DiMaggio, Martin, Al Kaline, Roberto Clemente. Wow. Okay. So Roberto Clemente's the last guy out of the clubhouse. And I'm standing in front of your bus. And Roberto comes running up. Like the bus driver says, are we done? And somebody said, no, Clemente's not back yet. And he's the last guy. So we're waiting. And so I talk about in my book how he starts hustling. Like he had this pinstripe suit that he was wearing, right? He starts hustling to the bus, and it's me and one other guy standing there still waiting for autographs. And I look at him, and he runs right past me because he knows he's late. And he goes up on the bus, up the stairs, and he looks through the big window that they have in the front of the bus. And he looks over and he notices I'm standing there, that he ran past me, and he walks back down the steps outside and he signs my book.
Oh, wow.
All right.
He's a great guy.
Yep. And that was my only interaction ever with Roberto Clemente. But that was minutes after this. There's a Don Buford signature on my page. And I'm sure you totally remember signing my book, right, Don?
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, of course you do. You signed it on top of Ernie Banks.
On top of Ernie Banks.
And that's Ken Berry of the White Sox. Maybe did you play with Ken Berry?
Ken Berry, yes.
Okay.
He was in center field.
Right. And so who else is on there? Tom Tresh and somebody, I can't read the other one. But anyway, you remember that? Remember those guys? Yeah. And Al Downing was on that team too. And some guy named Willie Mays was there.
Willie Mays, yeah.
When I snuck back into the dugout, into the clubhouse after the game, I didn't even know where I was. I was in the bowels of Dodger Stadium. And I knocked on the big metal door of the visitors clubhouse, and some guy named Joe DiMaggio was sitting there in the middle of the room, staring at a wall, wearing his just like a white t-shirt and boxer shorts. That's all he was wearing. And I said, "Excuse me, Mr. DiMaggio, could you sign my book?" And he looked up like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And he signed my book and my autograph and this page in the book. And you could see that's where he signed it, right under his picture. And so it's memories I will never, ever, ever forget. Ron Fairley was there, and he was the MVP. He hit a home run in that game.
Home run. Yes.
Yep. So now you remember a little bit, huh?
Yep, I remember that.
Yep. And so Ron signed my book, and I'm just going through all of these little things. That's my scorecard, and you could see the ticket I had, and Ron signed the ticket.
He signed it, yeah.
Isn't that great? He was the MVP of the game, and he got a big trophy for it.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome.
So anyway, I wanted you to know that I met you when I was 16.
I wonder why that baseball dropped the ball on a few things.
Yeah, well, Peter O'Malley told me I have the whole story in my book. I think you have a copy of my book, don't you?
I have a copy, yes.
Yeah, so read it, damn it.
Okay.
Okay, because I got the whole story in the book, and I think you're mentioned in that chapter about how Peter O'Malley told me that he had just taken over the team for his father, at literally like the week before. And so his whole thing was, he didn't even go to Vero Beach his first year.
Yeah.
He wanted to make sure this game went well, and it went smooth, but it was just the logistics and how they had to figure out. And then soon after that, it was a different world in baseball, because you had the union started, and they didn't do stuff like this. It was totally different.
Right.
Anyway,
so that's good.
Isn't that a great story, though?
That's a great story. I mean, just the names you mentioned, boy, all Hall of Famers. Gosh.
Exactly.
I mean, Hall of Famers. Yeah.
Including this guy, Hank Aaron was there.
Aaron.
Do you have a Hank Aaron story? We already know Al Downing's story with Hank.
I just played against Hank a couple times, but nothing.
Yeah, because you're in opposite leads, obviously.
Yeah, nothing.
And probably sometimes spring training, maybe, right?
Yeah. I had Bob Gibson. I can tell you a story about Bob Gibson.
Please. One tough dude to play face again.
Yeah, these pitchers today don't understand.
Oh no, they have no idea
what guys had to do in those days, or what guys did in those days.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we're playing the spring training game, so I'm leading off. Bob Gibson on the mound, and he's not really airing out like he always can. And
right,
he threw me a fastball, and for some reason I said, "Oh!" I swung and missed. I said, "Oh!" I missed, knowing I'm not gonna get nothing else from Bob Gibson, right?
Right.
I got something else. The next pitch, up and
right under your chin. Did he hit you, or he knocked you down?
No, he knocked me down.
Wow, that was Gibson.
And so then the next pitch, he just laid it in there, and I got a base hit. And I got the first base. I says, "Thank you, Mr. Gibson."
I love it. That's one of the toughest guys ever.
Yeah.
And that 1968 year, he had a 1.12 ERA. Was simply ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, get your thoughts real quick on that. That 68 season was the year of the pitcher, Don Drysdale. I went to his scoreless innings record-breaking game when he had 6 straight shutouts. How do you think it really affected the game? After that, they lowered the mound a few inches, and how that, because they wanted it, not to be such an advantage for the pitcher. How do you see that affecting the game after that?
Well, it affected the game because everybody had to adjust their style of pitching to a lower mound, which took a little time. As a pitcher, I'm sure it changes their whole concept of what they could do, and
they were coming more straight down at you as opposed to
leveling off a little bit more.
Right.
So I it certainly made a whole difference in the game. In fact,
well, we've never had a year like that again, right? Like 68 after they changed it.
No, and I don't think
it worked in that respect.
Yeah, only changes now is smaller ballparks,
right,
tighter wound balls, and travel further.
Yeah,
and everybody trying to throw 110, and it's going out 210.
Yeah, exactly. You get a hold of it. Like, how good is Ohtani? I mean, when you watch him hit.
He's an exception. He's like the Clementis and those guys. Those are exceptional players, and he's just one of those exceptions.
Yep.
And I would not pitch him down. I'd pitch him up.
Yeah.
I'd make him hit the high pitch.
Yeah, exactly. High and tight, maybe?
High and real tight.
Yeah, exactly. Like he could feel it hit past his chin.
Exactly. If he can hit that high and away pitch out of the park, so be it.
Yes, but could you imagine a guy like that back in your day, who was a two-way player and also pitched?
Yeah. No.
I mean, that really is amazing, isn't it?
I was trying to think if there was anyone that did.
Well, there were pitchers that turned into hitters, and was it Dave Kingman was a pitcher at one time, maybe like a USC guy?
Okay. Yeah, Kingman.
I'm just thinking those kinds.
He pitched a little bit, but he was a potential better player than a pitcher.
Right, right. But I think there were a few pitchers that were pretty good, but they ended up, or the other way around. They're like
Right.
they couldn't hit
No,
us. But I'm talking about two like superstar both positions.
right. No, I don't recall too many guys in that
Yeah, it's pretty
category.
amazing.
Right.
And is the greatest player you ever faced is who? I mean, you ever played against
Eee.
or you ever saw?
Eee. It's hard. I can't. I mean, I
This guy's in the
look.
conversation though.
I like. Look, you
See
got
that? Look at this guy here, Don.
you got. Yeah, I know. You got Willie Mays.
Yep.
You got Roberto Clemente.
Okay. Henry.
You got Henry Aaron. I can't leave Frank Robinson out.
Okay.
Uh, and now I know I'm forgetting some guys now.
That's all
Uh,
right. What about pitchers? The best pitchers you ever faced?
God, everybody.
Well, I know that everyone's tough. Well, everybody had their nemesis, and sometimes they weren't Hall of Famers at all. They were just good pitchers, and you just couldn't hit them. But there were a couple of guys though that were like all-time greats. As like, wow, we're facing them tomorrow, and this I'm not looking forward to this.
I was a switch hitter, so
That's true. That
I
helps.
kind of missed out on some of the guys that had outstanding stuff from because if they had that good stuff, I wouldn't hit left-handed against them whatsoever, or
Well, from the
right-handed.
'60s, I think it looks like a chunk of the best pitchers were in the National League. When
Yeah,
you think of Koufax, Drysdale, Gibson, Marshall, and all
right,
those types, right?
exactly,
And then you already had great pitchers on your own team, so
right.
you didn't have to face Jim Palmer or stuff like that, right?
Palmer, Cuellar throwing the screwball.
Exactly. So you were
Yeah,
pretty lucky in that
yeah.
respect.
So I kind of missed it that way.
Yeah, and didn't complain missing it.
Uh,
How great was Willie Mays though? We just lost him a
uh,
few weeks ago.
I mean, he's such an exceptional player. I mean, this guy could do everything.
Yep.
I mean, baseball wise, there isn't one thing that he could not do on the baseball field.
Yep.
I mean, he could steal bases, he could throw. The defense was super outstanding, hitting super outstanding. I mean, there aren't too many guys. Only one that comes to me in that kind of category is
Yep.
Clemente.
Yeah, it's true. It's really true. It's just that Clemente didn't hit as many home runs. That's about the only difference.
Yeah, but
And
Clemente
Clemente had a better arm.
had a
And that's
stronger had a
that's
stronger
not a put down to Mays. That's how great Clemente was.
exactly. In fact, in the World Series game,
Yep.
we have Merv Redmond on second base.
Okay.
So I hit a line drive to right center,
Yep.
and Clemente goes over in right center,
Oh,
and Billy Hunter held Merv Redmond up at third base,
wow.
and Clemente went over, threw a ball. I swear to goodness, I bet it was no higher than 6 feet in the air
Really?
from right center to home plate.
Right. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And Billy Hunter held Merv Redmond up. And I said to Merv, why didn't you get thrown out at home? Billy Hunter held him up. I said, hey, you're on second base hits, you got to score.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Don, I've held you a long time here. We went longer than I thought we were going to go, but these are
That's
fantastic
appreciated.
stories. No, I appreciate you. And you know what? As great as your career was, and you ended up playing in Japan. Just a quick thought on that, because you said those were some of the greatest times of your life.
Yeah, they sure were. I was very fortunate I could take my family there, and everything was. It was like getting a big bonus because they took care of me. Family, they paid my hotel. They just treated me excellent, super nice.
And you played, was it 4 years in Japan?
Yes, 5.
5 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Was it
And how did you do on the field there?
4 years?
Were you
Same kind of numbers I had here in the States.
really?
Honest to goodness, I think I
Okay.
hit the first year. I think I hit 20 home runs. They thought I was King Kong.
I love it.
And here's a cute story about Japan. And I first went over and they go into spring training games. So we're playing the games, and then after the game, I had an interpreter, and they're calling out, giving out the end.
Yeah.
And I said, "What's that?" They were giving out 100 yens for this, 200 yens for that. RBIs were yens, home runs were yens. And I said, "Oh, really?" Because I didn't know nothing about it.
Right.
So guess what?
Huh.
Spring training next games, yow, home runs.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
And then the story got out. I loved their Kobe beef. It was so tender and
I bet.
great to me. And so this gentleman that owned the market, every time I hit a home run, he'd have Kobe beef sent to the house. And so, man, I had 20 home runs.
Yeah, you're living like a king over there, huh?
I was living like a king.
That's great. That is great.
Roger
Yeah.
Repos was with me at that time.
Oh, okay.
Frank Howard came over, but
We got hurt, right?
he got hurt in the spring training game. I said, "Frank, just take it easy. Just hit some home runs. They'll love you here." But he was hustling and stepped on first base and twisted his.
So he
messed
never
up
did
his
play in
knee.
Japan, right?
So
After that.
he didn't even play, and they
that's
paid him a full year's salary though.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So
I know. When we talked the last time we had a nice private chat, I mean, you're just so fond of those days in Japan, and I'm just wondering the quality of baseball. I mean, how do you compare them at all? I know they say the ball's a little bit smaller, and it's like, how much does that affect everything?
I didn't recognize it being any smaller. The only difference I think in Japan and the States is their major league team. If you combine players from each team to have maybe 4 or 5 or whatever teams, they could play in the big leagues.
Really?
I think the talent is just spread out. It might be better now. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Was there.
Yeah.
But that was the only difference I thought.
Okay.
That they didn't have the number of pitchers and
right.
Like they did here in the States.
But a lot of quality everyday players, though, huh?
A lot of quality. Sadahara O, Nakashima, and they had.
Did you play against O at all?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what was he like?
A good hitter.
Well, the guy had more home runs than anybody who ever lived. He must have been pretty special.
He was like Ohtani.
Really?
And hitting.
Okay.
Hitting home runs there.
Like just crushing the ball.
Crush the ball. Yeah.
So was he like obvious superstar compared to everybody?
Yes.
Just one of those standout guys.
He stand out just from that standpoint.
Just more home runs than, was he a decent fielder too, or
decent fielder?
Okay, but nothing special.
Not.
It was the home runs.
Right. He wasn't like Willie Mays playing defense.
Right.
No, not at all.
Right. But you talk about God in Japan. He could have been, the prime minister forever if he wanted, right?
If he wanted to. Yep.
That's great. That's great. All right. So all these years you're in these Hall of Fames and the Orioles and USC Athletic Hall of Fame, and you got your number retired somewhere else in the minors and all kinds of fun stuff. But it's got to be the best thing you did in your life. You're a proud father of some amazing sons.
Well, I was very fortunate with the boys. All 3 of them have been very successful, and they all played sports.
Yep.
My youngest one ended up playing, I think, 9 years in the big leagues. Damon.
Yep. Damon, yeah.
And my oldest son played minor league ball, but he was going to med school. And
now he's a world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, from what I understand.
Yeah,
how great is that?
Now that's the Curlin and Job operation.
Yeah.
He developed it orthoscopically.
Oh, okay. And his
So they
name is?
call it Buford complex.
Oh, I didn't realize that. What his first name again?
Don.
Don. That's Don Jr.
Don Jr.
Okay, got it. And your
And
other son, Dallas? Daryl?
Daryl, attorney, went to law school
Nice.
and went to Cal, and then ended up at SC. They all ended up at SC. Thank goodness.
Yeah, you wouldn't let him in Westwood, right?
Although med school, Donnie he played the minor leagues a couple years, so
Oh,
he
okay.
was going to med school. So what he would do, he would like fly home on the weekends when they had final exams,
Yeah.
fly home and take the exam and fly back and play minor league ball.
Oh, that's great.
He's unfortunate. Unfortunately, he couldn't just be in one spot at one time, but
Right.
he was doing both. But I don't know how he did it personally, especially med school.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Right.
Anyway, how many guys can say, though, truthfully, they're inducted into a team's Hall of Fame and you only played 5 years in Baltimore with that lineup? Okay. So maybe they wanted you to take 2 strikes, Don, but you taught them.
Oh, I tell you what, all I wanted to do is let me get on base. I'll score the run for you.
And you did an unbelievable job. Last thing, when you picked up a glove as a little kid, right? Could you have ever imagined that that game of baseball would be your entire life?
No, I did not. But I'm really thankful. When I grew up and we were going to high school and junior high school and stuff like that, we had a group of guys in the neighborhood, and we used to have our own teams in the summer.
Yep.
And we used to play at Rancho La Cienega Park. And what happened is, if you had 8 players, you didn't forfeit the game.
Got it.
And so we used to have 8 players most of the time. So that's why I learned how to play the outfield, because I had the speed.
Okay.
So I'd play left center, and the other outfielder would play right center. We kept our infield intact for double plays and stuff.
Yep.
So that's how I learned to cover all that ground in Dorsey High School.
Oh yeah.
I
love it.
Mr. Lefevre, Jim Lefevre's dad was the recreation guy there
at Dorsey.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I never heard that before.
Yeah, at Rancho La Cienega. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we used to play there during the summer months, and
that's the one just between Wilshire and Olympic, right?
That's L.A. High School.
Oh, okay.
Dorsey was on.
No, but you said Rancho La Cienega. That wasn't that.
Well, that's it was Jefferson and La Brea.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right there. It.
Okay.
Well, Wellington Boulevard, Jefferson.
Got it. Okay. That's awesome.
And in fact, that's in the early years, they had the remember. I don't know if you remember when they Los Angeles Dons were at the Coliseum.
I remember the name, but I was too young.
Oh, okay. So anyway, we Sergeant Friday was our football coach. So we used to play at half times.
Oh, really?
LA, yeah, they used to put the goalposts on the 20-yard line.
Oh, wow.
And we'd be the halftime entertainment. They had the LA Dabs, the Sonny Boys, and Mickey Rooney Fighting Irish.
Really?
Those are the names of the teams.
Right.
We used to play at halftime.
It was like those are the Hollywood Stars days too, though, right?
Yes.
So did you ever go to any of those games over there in Hollywood on Fairfax?
On Fairfax, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
We used to wear the shorts in the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
That's classic.
Yeah.
Well, Don, I love reminiscing, and you know what? One of the reasons I do these shows is because I want the younger guys, not just anybody, but the players. They need to appreciate what was before them, because without you guys, it's a whole different world.
Well, thank you.
It's the truth.
Yeah. Well, we gave it our all.
Yep. And you gave it your all for not a lot of money.
No money.
Exactly. So what they do is they can retire after one season if they get
Yeah.
hurt, and you had to play 20 seasons to make what they make in like 3 weeks.
Well, I think our major league minimum is right at $1 million now.
I think it's 750, but
750,
750. I think.
750.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I said, my first major league contract, 7,000.
Wow.
They says that equates to when you. I said no, 750,000 doesn't equate any kind of way you look at it. Upside down, backwards, sideways.
No, I think their meal money is what you made in a year.
Yeah, there you go.
It's unbelievable. But again, it's all about appreciation.
Yes.
You guys paved the way for everything. And from me, I don't care about anybody else. From me, I appreciate the hell out of you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Don. Thank you for the time. All the best to the family. And
Okay.
let's touch base. Let's go out and have a burger again sometime.
You name it.
You got it, man. We're both in the valley. I love that.
Yeah, we're right there.
Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. That's Don Buford, Mr. Mega Hall of Famer. He's all over the place. And don't forget him. Thanks for watching. Have a great time.
Thank you so much.
All right, Don. Take care.
Okay.